CS3B.
Gravy.
Okay. So far we have 49. So let us now check first the posted quiz last time, whether uh, all of you answered the quiz. Wait for a moment. Okay, so let's continue. Uh, want to verify, is it CS3B? CS3B? Can you raise your hand? Okay, so you may now lower your hand. Last week I have posted quiz, no, under week number 13. So out of how many enrolled out of 55, we are having 44, no, successfully turned in the responses. So let me generate first the equivalent row score of our posted quiz under week number 13. So far we are having scores lowest of 7, okay, lowest of 7, and then the highest of perfect score. So we are still having 11 of your classmates who are not able to complete the posted quiz. As much as possible, no, dapat mag-zero itong assign, no. So please inform me whether you can still access the quiz or the quiz is no longer accepting responses. So far, quiz still accepting responses. So for those who are not able to take the quiz during that time, you can have it now. Take the quiz. So I can start recording during the final examination or maybe after Holy Week. Okay. Before we proceed with our lesson proper, so let me have some announcement and guidelines related to your chapter 1, 2, and 3 title defense. I have posted an announcement in our thesis B to ano B? Thesis writing 1. I have posted an announcement that on on April 21, no? Teka. Magkakaibang time nga pala yung thesis nyo, no? Starting naman nilagay ko dito, no? Starting April 21. Yan ay after Holy Week. So, starting April 21, you need to spend time, no, to bring your printed copy, one printed copy. And then we are going to look for available classroom where we can check your chapter 1, 2, and 3 one by one per group. Uh, we need to use your allotted time. So your dedicated time thesis, no, every that will be 3B. For 3B, every Tuesday, no. So yung sa inyo, Tuesday 5:30 onwards. After Holy Week, Tuesday 5:30 onwards. Ito ngayon, ito yung ano natin, no. Lagay natin. So, we're gonna include, no, in our announcement, the time. Ito na lang. Tuesday 5:30 onwards. So that will be on April 22. Am I correct? Yan, April 22. So April 22 pala yun sa inyo. Yan, April 22, 2025. Puntahan nyo na lang ako din sa office and then we are going to look for available room where we can conduct the checking of your chapter 1, 2, and 3 before you have your title defense, no? So para makita natin kung tama ba yung mga pinaglalagay, okay? So that's for your thesis number 1. So let's proceed with our another instruction pa pala, no? In your thesis number 1. Um, folder. Ayan. So you need to use the clear folder, yung transparent long folder, and then use the paper clip like this one. Wag yung slide. Did you follow? You can use this paper clip, no? Kasi ano siya, makapit siya. Uh, we used to have an experience last time during defense. Natatanggal kasi yung clip when we scan the document. So nalalaglag. So this one, it holds stronger than the slider. So clip na lang ang gagamitin nyo. Mas kapit siya dun sa paper. Okay? Clear folder, tapos clip, and then one printed copy of your document. So that is on April 22 yung sa inyo. Okay, 5:30 onwards. So puntahan nyo lang ako, and then we are going to find vacant room where we can check your document per group. Okay. So let us now proceed with our software engineering 2. Okay, so another checking for software engineering 2. If you can still remember, last time I told you to submit the partial fulfillment of your requirement gathering, requirement analysis, designing, documentations, no? Saan nga natin yung nilagay? That was posted under, saan yung nakalagay? Paste the contents of your document. Ito. Ito yun, ano? So far, hopefully, the one who submitted are those group representative. Do not duplicate the submission, no? So like for example, is group number 1 leader submitted already the document, then there's no other submission other than that submissions coming from the group leader. Kasi malilito ako during checking. You follow, class? So perhaps yung mga naka-turn in dito is all group representative. Pag meron na, wag dublehin kasi nalilito ako sa checking. Okay? So this is for your midterm partial fulfillment. Now, for your final complete fulfillment of your documentations of software engineering, you are going to record the developed system. Record the developed system in a demonstration format. So para kayo magde-demonstrate, introduce your group members, and then proceed directly with your with the landing page, if that's the system, landing page, and then the functionalities. Explain every functionalities of your system. Then record that together with an audio. I am not recommending you to use the digital voice. I want you to narrate, no, what you are trying to explain. You have to narrate that using your own voice. I want to hear coming from you on how are you going to explain the functionalities of your system. And another one is it is advisable that every member of your group, there is a part of your system that they are having an individual assignment where they are going to explain the functionality of the system. So at least, no, for each member, they are having their own task to explain. That is also included in your recorded video. Did you follow, class? Can you raise your hand if you are still following. Okay, you may now lower your hand. Now, may I have the attention of class president and vice president? Can you raise your hand? Class president, is it Salgado? Okay. Vice president, where's your vice president, Kay? We have your vice president.
Sir,
Okay, yes. Si ano, si Kat. Ayan. Okay, so now our next move is to have our one flash drive, no? Kahit yung luma na, isa lang for the entire section. Hindi ko yung kukunin, ano? You are going to use that flash drive to collect the recorded video coming from your group, no? Of for each group. Now, the ones who are tasked for the consolidations of the recorded video is either Miss Kat and Miss K, no? Our class president and vice president. So, alin sa inyo, Kat and K? The one who are going to collect the recorded video. Ikaw na lang, Kat or K?
ako na lang po siguro, sir.
Ah,
Tapos inform ko na lang din po si Press K.
okay, ganoon na lang. So, what you are going to do, Kat, is to dedicate one flash drive, not necessarily a brand new, no? Kahit yung luma na, format nyo lang, make sure that you haven't include any virus, no, inside the flash drive kasi sasaksak ko sa laptop. Make sure na malinis yon, and then you may collect the recorded video coming from individual group, no, in your section, and then i-list down mo sino-sino yung nag-submit na. List down the group who submitted the recorded video. And then, kahit yung group leader na lang, name, no? Last name ng group leader and first name. And then, by next week, Monday, during our time, okay? Ay, hindi pala next week, after next week, after Holy Week. Di ba, ito yung checking natin nakapost. Checking natin yun ng at the same time, no, during the checking of your chapter 1, 2, and 3, at the same time, we are going to use the SOFENG 2 time. While checking your documentations 1, 2, 3, I will also copy, no, will copy the recorded video you submitted to Miss Kat. Kat or Kate? Kate yata. Kate pangalan mo, ano? Kathleen?
Yes, sir. Kahit ano
Oo.
na lang, cut na lang po.
Kasi ano, Caitlyn kasi, tapos
Kathleen Kate.
Kathleen, tapos Kate. Kaya Kat tsaka Kate. So, kahit alin doon. Minsan tawag ko sa iyo Kate. Minsan naman Kat. Chocolate yun Kit Kat. So, ganun na lang, no? Ngayon, ang ano pala, span ng time, kailangan nating i-limit. Okay. Kailangan nating i-limit. So, at least, meron lang tayong, I guess 1 minute is enough, no? 1 minute is enough kasi more than 1 minute, baka mapasobra pa. So, minimum of 1 minute, no? Pero if it is inevitable that you exceed up more than 1 minute, so baka lumagpas pa kayo, it's okay. Pero as much as possible, siguro minimum 1 minute. Kung kakayaning 1 minute, mas okay. Ang titingnan lang naman natin doon is you need to include in your recorded software demonstration, starting with the introduction of the members, no? You need to introduce the members together with the group leader. And then after the introduction, without any additional, no, ad lib, you need to directly proceed and discuss demonstrate right away the developed system. Then for each member in the group, they are having their own assigned task where they are going to explain. So meaning individually for each member of the group is having their opportunity to explain. So regardless whether or not it's in a functionality in general or graphical in general, uh, back end structure. So regardless, no, what tasks are you going to assign to your member? As long as no, the important is each member is having their opportunity to explain also on their own. So for that, I'm gonna give grades no based on their explanation, so we can see whether or not they really fully understood what you are doing no or what you are developing. So that's part of your software engineering. So meaning we are having two activities no, the previously submitted, that was the partial fulfillment. Then for the final is your system. So I'm going to check that one by one with the help of your video recorded video submitted to Miss Cat, and then I'm gonna collect those per section. So once again, I'm gonna collect the recorded video during our software engineering time. That will be on a week after the Holy Week. Okay? So Monday din yon. Kasi that's face to face. Ay, face to face ba yun? Online tayo ngayon. Face to face. Holy Week. Online pala yon. Ay, malamang face to face kasi malamang Holy Week walang schedule kung 'di ba magbo-move dapat. So kung online tayo ngayon, most likely after after Semana Santa. After Semana Santa, face to face talaga tayo 'yon by next week. Okay? So ganoon gagawin natin. So clear na tayo no? Prepare your recorded software. Okay. Ito pa pala. You need to include. Okay, ganito. You need to include the group names for each page of your application or system. Nakuha, class? Nakuha ba? You need to include the group name for each page of your system to ensure that you own that particular system. No? Tignan muna natin, ano? Iba-budget natin yung time eh. So, kung 1 yun, 1:30, and then we have up to 2:30. Eh, di ba hanggang ano naman talaga tayo, originally? Hanggang ano naman yan? Hanggang 5 ba tayo? Hanggang 4? Ayan, hanggang 4. So, malamang, we are going to, baka tingnan na lang natin, kasi maraming group kayo eh. Yung checking, no, it takes time. So, kailangan matapos talaga natin yon. So, we have 3A, 3B, and 3C. 1, 2, 3. Yep, 1, 2, 3. Create or print a hard copy no, of your chapter 1, 2, and 3. Title, as a preparation for your title defense. So, meaning, yun na yung document. So, I just want to verify, no, I just want to check your document whether or not you are really following what is being included every time we have our discussion. And even in our classwork or using our Google Classroom in thesis 1, I have already included several guidelines, di ba? I included the old version just for the sake of getting the standard format of margin, the header. So that's the purpose of including the old version, no, that contains the old table of contents also. And then here comes, we have our guide for table of contents, the summary table of contents that will serve as the newly format of your table of contents. Meaning, what you are going to do is to just to change the old version of table of contents with the newly posted guide for table of contents. So yung basis nyo, yung may label na guide. Did you get? Na-explain ko na yun, di ba? Last time. Did you follow? And then, sample content, if you're not quite sure what most how it looks like when it comes to that particular part of your chapter, then we are having also our sample content guide, no, posted. So tignan nyo na lang doon. The context diagram, the and the rest of the diagrams, no, we have already discussed during our face-to-face, and you can even explore more using your spare time or vacant time on your own. As I've mentioned, do not rely on what is being discussed during the online session or face-to-face session. Huwag kayong makontento doon. You need also to use your remaining time to explore it on your own. So you alone can also explore, no, what and how can you improve the previously discussed during the online or face-to-face discussion. No, don't be contented of what is being discussed. Set lang yun ng fundamentals, and it's part of the fundamentals discussions of fundamentals and principles that will serve as guidance, no, or guidelines for you to explore more. But what makes you fully understood and comprehend the entire concept, or even expand the idea or the information, or even collect more information and new trends information based on what is being discussed, the key is with the help of your own exploration. Kayo pa rin talagang nakatulong dun sa sarili nyo. You need to explore it on your own, so you will enjoy what you are trying to look for. Because if you are only relying on what is being discussed, tendency, you're not enjoying to learn, so tatamarin ka. Did you follow, class? Did you follow? So, gawin yung habit, no? Gawin yung habit yung searching. Like for example, if you are thinking of something related with your thesis, pag naisip mo yon, search ka kagad. And then the best way is cellphone. Di ba yung cellphone nyo, lagi nyo dala. Pag may naisip kang idea, search mo kagad. Then basahin mo. Until such time, no, na nagiging habit mo na yon. So pag may naisip ka, search mo kagad, basahin mo. Paano ba to? Ganito. Alamin mo kung bakit, how, why, and so it could help you to fully understood the reason why not, why, and why it is why it happened. So that is part also of being a student, no, to explore what is being discussed during the discussion. Okay, meron tayong message coming from pareho po ba sa April 21 po yung video? Yep. Madali na lang yon. If you are already done with your system, what you need to do is to talk with your members, no? Talk with your members, and then you need to talk with your members, and then assign particular part of your system, assign to particular member, and then you need to create a script on how are you going to explain. But during the explanation, do not read. Okay? You don't have to read the explanation. Pag nakita kong nagbasa kayo, matik na yon, no? So, walang magbabasa. You need to explain that from your own understanding. Di sabihin mo kung ano yung pagkakaintindi mo dun sa nagawa nyo. So, it shows how you really understood the system that you develop. So, kung ano yung inabot, do not create an additional explanation, no? Do not create additional explanation to cover what is lacking. Kung ano yung kung ano yung gaps, banggitin nyo rin. Did you get the point, class? Did you follow? Did you follow? Do not cover the gaps, no? Kung ano yung kulang doon sa na-develop nyo, isama nyo sa explanation. Okay? That is part of identification. So, what's the gap, no, during the development or during and after the development? Isasama nyo yon, okay? anong gagawin? Introduce the group members, and then you need to call one by one. Maybe starting from the group leader, then to be followed by member number 2, member number 3, and so on. And then they're going to explain their assigned functionality, how it works, why it is being included. So the explanation is like this one. You need to mention, so like for example, if I am the member number 2, the group leader called me to explain the functionality related to login validation. Example lang, no? Ako ang nakatask doon. Then, ayan. So, sasabihin ni group leader, okay, let's now call on Mr. that to explain the login validation of our proposed system. Eh, pare-parehas naman kayo doon ng proposed system. So, kunyari lang ganun. Okay? So, explain ko yon. No? What are those requirements in order to complete that particular functionality? So, what are those requirements needed? So, there's a need to list down, no, the required attributes to easily validate the data submitted by the user who requested. So, i-explain mo yon. Like for example, attribute number 1, there's a need to collect the username, there's a need to collect the password, the PIN, and so on and so forth. So, meaning you need to explain how it works. But before you explain how it works, you need to start with the requirements. You need to mention first what are those requirements in order for you to come up with that particular functionality in a form of module. You follow? So, after you identify those requirements, after you mention those requirements, you need also to explain in an analysis form. No, you need to verbally mention how you analyze those requirements. Paano nyo siya ina-analyze? Why do you need to come up with, like for example, 4 different attributes? Why there's a need for you to come up with 3 attributes? Why there's a need for you to come up with 5 attributes if we're talking about login? Now, the only one who can answer that is you, the developer itself. Kasi meron kayong mga technique. Dito nyo na gagawin ngayon yung sarili nyong exploration. So the one we discussed during face-to-face, those are fundamentals and basics. We tested already that you are already capable of fetching the value coming from different database table. So we check that, no? Nakita na natin yan. So meaning you are already capable of doing those filterings, fetching the data. Now it's about time for you to explore on what are those additional functionalities that can be added to your system. Ngayon, ang labanan doon na lang sa checking, doon sa recorded video ninyo. Okay? Titingnan ko na lang doon. What are those additional features included? Doon ako magpa-plus points. But if you stick with the minimum requirement, kasi yung mga nabanggit lang natin doon, import, login, registration, di ba? Ganun pa lang. But if you added several functionalities, doon ako magsa-start ng additional points. Did you follow, class? Did you follow? Okay. So another thing, that the grading is different from the thesis. No, in our thesis grading, we will be having individual and group grade, but this software engineering, this is purely group graded. Meaning, kailangan magpi-perform mo. If one member fails, no, to participate, kailangan practicein muna ulit ninyo, and then you need to record again. Okay? So madadama yung buong group kasi group work dapat. So you need to motivate group leader, you need to motivate your group member to participate. Okay? Motivate your group members to participate, or else kapag ayaw talaga, create a letter that this member is not participating, no? Okay, pwede namang hindi mo tatanggalin sa group, pero just to take note who are those group members are not participating. Para mayroon akong basis na hindi siya bibigyan ng grade. Did you follow, class? Did you follow? Kasi unfair doon sa mga members, no? who are spending time to create the system, and yet there are some members who are not trying to help the group, no, to complete kasi meron pa kayong thesis and then yung system. So it is the responsibility of the group leader to take note who are those members not really actually helping the group. So kung tumulong man, kung meron ding tumulong pero uh, very seldom lang, i-note nyo rin, no? Bilangin nyo uh, how many times you have your, like for example, group discussions, group uh, group work in an actual activities of developing the system. How many times you do that? So bibilangin mo yon. Then how many times that the group member fails to participate? So i-over mo ngayon yon. Titignan natin. Okay? So para di malito, balik muna tayo dun sa submission. By next week, during our scheduled time, we are going to use the software engineering 2 to collect the submitted recorded video of your system's demonstration. Then I'm gonna copy that, transfer to my laptop. No, hindi ko dadalhin yung flash drive ko, kopyahin ko lang yung video, no, the coming from Kat, no. Then Miss Kat, Caitlin will be the ones collecting the video, recorded video coming from the group, no, individual group. Okay. So clear na tayo doon? Okay na? Wala nang problema? Nasundan? So let's proceed with our SoftEng 2. Week 14, I'm gonna upload the second learning material. The first learning material posted last time, no? I'm gonna create also another quiz for that. Maybe by next week naman, post natin. So we are now having our learning material number 2. Okay. So I'm gonna open the offline version, no, for the sake of time response and the display. Let's go back first with our learning material number 1. Okay, so this is already partially discussed last time, but we were not able to complete the entire discussion. So we need to go back to this discussion so we can discuss it further and more detailed. No, finance learning material number 1. So it talks about the significance of risk management plan in project planning. It is being stated that the significance of using the risk management plan in project planning is the identification and mitigation of potential issues. Meaning to say, before you come up with final or fully blown project to be launched, there must be a risk management included during the process before you come up before you can conclude that the developed system is reliable and free from potential issues. And if there are unanticipated issues occurred eventually, after the launching of the system, then you know how are you going to act based on the issues that you encountered, because you are comfortable enough that you have already a plan on how are you going to control the risk that you are encountering during that time, because that is already included in your risk management plan. So that's how important the risk management. Now, sir, what are those important tasks included in risk management? The reason why it is very important not to skip that risk management. Most of the time, if you are like for example, if you are an expert already of development, especially for those who are already employed in industry, no, they are already expert when it comes to the development. So meaning to say, there is no question, no, for them on how are they going to start and to end the project. The only problem is the business rule. So meaning to say, kabaliktaran yung sa kanila eh. If we are trying to compare with the students who are currently now studying, you need to start with from the planning requirement analysis. But if you do it every day, meaning you are already familiar how to start, when to start, and when to end the project, depends upon the way of the project that you are working with, and the number of individual, no, belongs to the team. So it varies also. So meaning, dahil expert na sila, pwede nilang balik-balik na rin whether or not to create first the or to implement first, or maybe a combination of at the same time implement, test, and then plan, test, and implement, test, and plan, test, and implement. Pwede nilang pagbali-balik ta rin yon. And the safe mode is they are using iterative approach when it comes to that one, and a scrum approach because they are having also multiple team that can handle per group. There's a leader per group in like for example scrum approach, no, they're having multiple groups working with different modules kasi nga expert na sila doon. Before you become like them, no, who are working already in industry, you need to be familiarized first the fundamentals, no, the principles and the fundamentals of how are we going to use the risk management, so that you can fully understood the usefulness of familiarizing the risk management. So if you created a system without include you like for example you skip the risk management, and then you are trying to improve the data security, here comes you created another instructions that will automatically restrict the layers, no, to secure the data. So we are having several layers, like for example application layers, no, firewall layers, database layers, no, for the sake of security. And then you are trying to create another instruction that will consolidate all the intrusions coming from different detected coming from different layers. There's no such one middleware so far. I'm not quite sure. If you are going to do the research, perhaps you may notice that there are several new trends of security, no, working with layers, no, when it comes to data security. But so far, I'm not quite familiar with the new trends of securing coming from multiple layers of security. They are having different approach, but when it comes to middle application that will control, no, the cross the cross request coming from multiple layers, I'm not quite sure if we are already having that approach. Then you can start actually from that, no, you can start actually doing the research, then because you are still having enough time to do that, kayang-kaya yung gawin yon. So like for example, oo nga, no, pwedeng gawing thesis to. Tingnan nga natin if we are having already the same study published by other author. Pag nakita yung meron, i-explore nyo kaagad. Download those related studies, basahin nyo kaagad. So ganun yun. Uh, risk management. Balik tayo sa risk management. Why is it essential? Kasi nga, like for example, if you are trying to develop security that handles all the security layer, to secure the data without expecting what most likely. So without anticipations, no? Without anticipations, you directly dive deeper into your system's development without anticipation and assumption what most likely the possible risk you might encounter in the future. So ang nasa isip mo lang, the goal is to develop the system. So what will happen if you fully develop the system but you don't have risk management? So meaning you were not able to identify, no? You were not able to identify the possible, no? Kasi nga potential, 'di ba? You were not able to identify the potential risk that might be encountered in the future. So you don't have any idea what most likely the potential risk of integrating that solution to your current system launched online. So without mentioning pa, no, yung nabanggit din natin kanina earlier, you are working with different layers of security, and then here comes you are creating another module that will handle all the layers that automatically detect and identify in which layer has been compromised. So for the sake of data security, now the question is, have you anticipated what most likely the potential issue that most likely to be encountered in the future once you fully integrate that solution? So without risk management, you were not able to identify what are those potential risks uh, that might be encountered in the future. So most probably you will be surprised, no? Sasabihin niya lang sa iyo ng system, bulaga, may error tayo dito. Then what you're going to do, since you don't have a prepared algo to solve that problem, then you keep on debugging. Most of the time that happen. Yung mga developer, wala, hindi na umuwi. Nandun na lang sa server, they keep on debugging, they keep on modifying because they don't have the risk control. So if you don't have the risk control tendency, you will end up a continuous debugging. So when we say debugging, you don't have any idea in which part of your solution you encountered error. You are trying to look for the bug where in particular solution you encountered error. And the worst case is the the system, no, doesn't inform you in which actual part of location of your source coding actually experience exact error, especially if you are encountering a semantic error. So hindi niya alam yun na sa isip mo, not unless if you integrated the brain computer interaction, where every time you do the instruction, the system also will try to read your brain, and then notify you that what you instructed in your machine is different from what you are thinking. We don't have that we don't have the ability of doing that so far if you don't have the BCI technology. Not unless if you are having a BCI technology, so what you are trying to instruct the machine will try to trace the information coming from your brain, and then it will notify you. Wait for a moment. What you are trying to instruct is different from what you are thinking. So wala pa yon, di ba? So meaning, ang mangyayari, you keep on debugging. Ikaw ngayon maghahanap, and that's the worst case. So that happened if you don't have the risk management. No? But if you have risk management, no, if you have risk management, like for example, you are done with requirement collections, you are done already with the requirement analysis, you are done already with the designing. Here comes the implementation. So when we say implementation, you are now doing the source coding, where you are going to integrate or make it in reality. So what you design in the back end, what you design in the front end, or even the scripting, you are making it in reality. You are converting it in an actual source coding. So that's implementation. Okay? So during the implementation, after you build, there's testing. So in that testing, here comes the risk management. The risk management is capable of assessing what most likely the possible risk, And then if there are possible risks, the risk management is capable of controlling the risk. Di ba? O kaya dito sa hierarchical, from the root hierarchy, we have risk management having two child starting from the risk assessment and the other one is the risk control. So if you have risk assessment, you need to include the identification, you need also to analyze, and then prioritize. If you encountered multiple risks no, during the development. So example, yung kanina, dito tayo lalayo. Data security. You are creating another solution to secure the data. So what most likely the risk once you integrate that particular solution. So you need now to identify and list it down one by one. So like for example, most likely, pero hindi pa yun final. Parang assumption mo lang, no? Most likely to happen. No? Kaya nga potential risk. So you need to assess first risk assessment, risk identification. You need to identify most likely potential to happen in the future after we integrate is the intrusions or di kaya the corrupted data might be experienced. Pangalawa na, di ba? Or the incomplete thought of data being received by the receiver or by the recipient. O pangatlo na. So in short, you need to identify and list it down. What are those potential issues that might be encountered? Do you follow? And then, here comes, you need to create the design. How are you going to, if you are having the checklist of possible risks, how are you going now to analyze those risks? So you need now to create a design on how are you going to analyze. So dito yung sa risk identification. Another one, you need also to create an assumption, no? You need to create an assumption. So most likely this will happen once we encounter this particular risk. So para kang nanguhula muna, no? Kasi you are under identification. And then decomposition. Big help yung decomposition dito diagram related to the list of the risk na potentially being encountered in the future. Another task of risk assessment is the analysis. You need to analyze the performance model. So what most likely to happen once the risk number one will occur during this time? What will happen to the models? Does the model still performs and generate accurate result? Ngayon, papasok ka ngayon sa testing. Did you get the point, class? Papasok ka ngayon sa testing. So meaning yung developed system, you are going to test that in one cycle. Now, the question is, what developmental approach capable of risk management, risk assessment? Oh, kung nandito ka na sa analysis, what developmental approach capable of risk assessment? Ano? Let's try to hear coming from the class, if you can still recall, out of those developmental methodology. What developmental methodology capable of monitoring or detecting risk? Oh, anyone? Hindi nyo alam? Wala. Patay tayo dyan. Paulit po ng tanong. Nakatatlong ulit na yata ako or dalawa. So what developmental methodology capable of working with risk assessment? Oh. Ano ulit yon? So we have Torres. Yes, Torres.
Risk management po ba?
Oh, risk management nga. So what developmental methodology that can be used that supports the risk management? Because we're talking about risk management. Hindi to developmental. This is the actual process. This is the actual action that needs to be performed. To manage the risk, you need to have your risk management plan. So after having your risk management plan, in your risk management plan, you include the risk assessment, risk control. In risk assessment, it includes identification, analysis, and prioritization. Risk control, it includes the planning on how are you going to control the risk if it occurs, the resolution on how are you going to solve, and then the monitoring on how are you going to monitor continuously. So under yan ang risk management. However, there's still what we call methodology, approach. Paano mo gagawin yon? So anong developmental approach capable of doing those in a development approach? So we can monitor the risk. Yes, Sarmiento. Sarmiento. Yes, Sarmiento. Would you like to answer? You are raising your hand. Oh, Sarmiento, napindot lang. Oh, sino nakakalab? What developmental approach, methodology, capable of dealing with risk? Ano? Patay tayo dyan. So what are those methodology of development? Agile, mali. What else? Risk. Spiral, very good. So we have Mr. Fuentes, no? Spiral. Ayan. Salgado, spiral. Okay. So if you are going to assess the potential issues, no, that will eventually be possibly encountered, you need to perform the spiral approach, no? Spiral approach gagawin mo dyan. You need to test every after development, every after modification. You need to create one spiral, one spike, one cycle. Plan, you need to do the plan, you need to do the building, the testing, and then after testing, here comes you experience the error or the potential issues, and then after experiencing that potential issues, you need to record that one. No? You need to record that one. So that is happening not in an actual system but during the spiral one cycle. So doon magaling si spiral methodology, no? Test, si spiral starts with planning, no? You need to design and then test and then maintain. Planning, design, test, and maintain. So apat 'yon, iikot. Paikot-ikot lang 'yon. So in one cycle, it includes starting from planning, identification of the requirement, lahat-lahat 'yon. So ang shortcut doon, iplano mo muna, develop mo, i-test mo, and then i-improve. Plan, develop, test, and then improve. Plan, develop, test, improve. Plan, develop, test, improve. Paulit-ulit lang yung apat na yon. So, the number of times that the spiral cycle is the number of times of iteration. So, kung naka-benting ikot ka, benting ikot din yung spiral mo. Did you get the point, class? Did you follow? So, it helps the risk management approach. Like, for example, you have identified ito, risk management, di ba? Hierarchical. This is not the spiral. This is the hierarchical. So, the spiral supports the monitoring of risk assessment. Okay? It supports the monitoring of risk assessment. So, if you already identified what are those possible risks that might encounter in the future, ililist down mo kaagad yun. O saan under yun? Under yun ng risk management, risk assessment, under ng risk identification. Ito yon, checklisting. Checklist, meaning checklisting all the possible potential, all the potential issues that you might be encountered in the future. Ililist down mo ngayon yon. So you have already an idea, ano ba yung babantayan natin during the testing? Nangyari ba to? Nangyari ba to? Nangyari ba to? Nangyari ba to? Did you follow, class? And then the ones capable of doing that is the spiral. So iplano nyo muna, with the help of risk management, plano nyo muna, okay, ganito, plan muna natin, ano yung mga requirements na i-test natin, de-design natin, example, module. De-design nyo yung module na yon, and then, Iti-test nyo na kagad. And then, if you encountered error, then how are you going to how are you going to prioritize? So, unang error muna, list down nyo ulit. Unang error, ito. Yun na yung risk. One risk identified. You successfully identified one risk that most likely included or needs to be improved. So, ngayon, ni-run mo ulit, in-improve mo. May bagong risk na naman kayong na-encountered o pangalawang risk identification. Ngayon, minodify nyo ulit, pangatlong cycle na, nag-plan ulit kayo, design, test, tapos, nung testing, may error ulit, o pangatlong risk na, o nakatatlong cycle na kayo doon. Did you get the point, class? Did you follow? Did you follow? Did you follow? If not, you may use the remaining time to do the research. Basa kayo related to spiral para mas maintindihan. Do not be contented of what is being discussed during our online session. So, actually, that's not actually enough, no? Kasi nakakalimutan nyo eh. So, kaya, the best way is to reading, no? To read similar discussions that what we have during our online session. Magbasa-basa kaagad kayo, search kaagad kayo. Eh, yung cellphone nyo, dala-dala nyo lang yan eh. Anytime eh. So, accessible na yung mga information. It's a matter of when are you going to open and use the AI tool. I recommend use the AI tool for easy searching. No? Instead of manual pang search nyo. Pag meron kayong curiosity out of, like for example, spiral, how it works. How are you going to use spiral together with the risk management? O tignan nyo, di ba? Yun yung na-discuss natin ngayon. We are discussing risk management. We are discussing the spiral. Pero they are having their separate function but they can work together. Di ba? O kung yun, curious kayo dyan, pag uwi nyo, search nyo kaagad. How can you use the spiral together with the risk management? And then when are you going to use both? Then what's the best way of using those spiral methodology and risk management? Because the spiral supports the risk assessment. And then risk management is having risk assessment at the same time having risk control. Nakuha nyo? So yun yun, no? Mayroon na kayong key points. Pwede yung i-search yan during your spare time. So in our PowerPoint representation, I have it included the explanation, no? Kasi gusto ko pakinggan nyo yung explanation para ma-internalize. Pag nilagay kasi natin dito yung explanation, hindi na kayo makikinig eh. Ayan. Okay? So what's the significance of risk management plan in project planning? It is identification and meditation or mitigation of potential issues. Yun nabanggit natin kanina. Alamin mo muna, ano ba yung mga possible potential issues. Then you need to analyze. And then, example, you have identified 5 potential issues. Here comes the third, no? The third task of risk assessment. You are going now to expose, no, based on what you have being identified. So extract mo ngayon 'yon, no? Yung risk na 'yon, you need to try to expose that particular risk pero not in your current system. Madadali yung current system mo. Did you get the point, class? So in the concept of exposure, meaning to say try mo ngayon yung i-explore, try mo siyang i-extract, try mo siyang i-actual run in your mirrored system, duplicate system, not the actual system kasi nga you are now under risk management. Itatry mo muna yung risk na yon. So, what most likely the worst case that most likely to happen? Ngayon, you need now to do the assumption. Balik ka ulit ngayon dito. After you identify assumption, risk number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Analyze mo ngayon alin yung mga mabibigat doon. Risk number 1 ba, number 2, number 3, number 4. If you notice that risk number 3 is containing weight more than the rest of the identified risk, therefore, you need to prioritize that to solve that particular problem to avoid that to happen in the future after you integrate the new solution. So dito mangyayari yun sa risk prioritization. You follow? Expose mo na ngayon, tignan mo ngayon what most likely to happen, test mo kaagad, and then how are you going to solve that one? So leveraging, risk leveraging. Or maybe risk reduction. I-assess mo ngayon, paano kaya yung possible method to reduce if inevitable yung risk? What most likely the proper way to at least somehow reduce the impact? No? Paano mo siya? So, dyan mo siya i-assess muna. So, after assessment, here comes the risk control. How are you going to control once the system encountered that particular risk? Meron ka na bang module control panel that automatically regulate the compromise, if we're talking about the data, the compromised data, if we're talking about the access level security, how are you going to control how the system will react once detected or detects particular anonymous requests, how the system will handle that particular scenario to control the risk, to fulfill the risk target to your system. Dito, meron na kayong risk planning. Ang unang-una dyan na most likely to happen, yung buying of information. Usual yun nangyayari. And then, if it is possible for you to avoid that, then you should create a module that is capable of trying to avoid instead of letting the request to completely execute. So, meaning to say, yung algo na yun, what algo capable of doing that one, if there's particular request which is anonymous, then it will try to avoid, it will try to avoid and redirect to the rest of the nodes which is not directly related to the target data or information requested by anonymous user. So, you need to create now the another instruction that will automatically redirect that request to avoid that risk to happen. Dito yon sa risk planning. Paplanuhin mo talaga yon. Kaya sa risk control, you need to buy information. Risk avoidance, isasama mo yon. Risk transfer, risk reduction. If it is inevitable, and then you anticipated na ito hindi talaga maiiwasan, mangyayari talaga yon. But somehow, you need to create a plan on how are you going to reduce the impact. Did you get the point, class? So ano yung mga inevitable? What are those example of inevitable risk that most likely happen in the future? Yung stability of internet connection, that is inevitable, especially in our country. Did you follow, class? Di ba? Yung biglang nawawala or the absence of electrical current. Do we have something to do or in order to avoid that loss of electricity or current? Di ba hindi tayo may control? So pag yun nawala, useless na yung program mo. Nawawala. Nag-off din yun, not unless we're doing the battery. We are using the battery or else. So those are the inevitable scenario. So kung hindi man maiwasan, at least we have reduced the impact, di ba? Like for example, biglang nag-brown out, wala kang backup UPS, uninterrupted power supply, biglang nag-brown out, then sira na rin yung battery mo. Biglang nag-brown out during the transfer, then most likely you will be transferring a corrupted data. Or maybe you will be transferring an incomplete data. Or the worst is the transfer will fail during the time. So those are the risks that cannot be controlled, kung hindi siya controlled, at least meron tayong plan on how are you going to reduce the impact. Did you follow? So, pwedeng gagawa ka ng module in absence of ganito. In absence of ganito, automatically back up the data and so on and so forth. So, meron naman yan delay yung power consumption not unless bigla ang so kailangan ilalagay nyo yung planning. Resolution. Gagawa ka ba ng prototype? Isa-simulate mo ba? Benchmark, analysis, and staffing. And then, here comes the monitoring. So you need to record the milestones tracking. When we say milestones, those are the advantage result or positive results of your solutions. I-record mo yun kasi milestone yun of your ano. So part ng monitoring. You can also create reporting, like for example, top 10 tracking. Okay, di ba? And then perform risk assessment and corrective actions. So that's how important the risk management. No? So the significance is identification and mitigation of potential issues. Another one, we have the baseline progression. So you need to think of the cycle of development. Originally, it originally starts with the SDLC. Tama? SDLC is not the actual methodology. That's the principles. So more often, I more often heard that in several students mentioning that SDLC as development methodology. But actually, that's the original SDLC life cycle. So systems development life cycle. All methodologies no, originates coming from SDLC. So SDLC is the parent of all the methodologies, meaning to say the waterfall inherit the capability of systems development life cycle, no, which is the SDLC principles. Agile also inherits the capability of systems development life cycles principles. Yun ulit, yung SDLC. Scrum, what else? Spiral, XP programming, and the rest of the methodologies. All of those inherits coming from the SDLC principles life cycle. So systems development life cycle. So lahat yun nagdi-derive coming from SDLC. Nakuha nyo? So, if we're talking about baseline progression, this is not methodology. Baka kasi magkakamali kayo. You follow, class? So, when we say baseline progression, this is the more detailed approach of representations of your tasks within the phase. So, if you are thinking of phase number 1, try to think of the requirement gathering. If we're talking about software engineering. Phase 1, try to think of data collections or data gathering if you're working with your thesis. Did you get the point? Did you follow? Did you follow? Did you follow? Did you follow? Hala. Naipipi na itong mga to. Hindi na sumasagot. Did you follow? Raise your hand. Okay. Mamaya, wala na akong kausap dito. Okay. So, the baseline progression serves as the sub representation per phase. Di ba yung per phase dinidescribe pa natin yon during face-to-face discussion. Phase number 1, so if we're talking about software engineering, it includes requirement collections or requirement gathering, and then here comes the requirement analysis before you conduct the designing. You cannot include those features in your design without identifying the requirements that needs to be present during the development. Kasi we need these particular requirements in order for you to complete the module. So kaya, you need to gather the requirement first, then here comes, you need to analyze whether or not there is really a need for you to include that particular feature by analyzing the requirements that you gathered. Like for example, do we really need to have more than 8 GB of RAM when it comes to hardware requirement for the random access? Or do we really need to have a subscription in our cloud in order to come up with this particular capacity storage? Or do we need to have only a physical infrastructure for that instead of subscribing online? So in every action, there's a reason why you choose that particular solution or particular option. So that needs to be mentioned during your requirement analysis before you can include to your design. So before you can proceed to the next phase. Did you follow? So if you are working with all those in requirements, the equivalent baseline is functional baseline. So pag sinabi mo So meaning to say, yung cycle of development, regardless you're using waterfall, agile, regardless you're using iterative approach, so it's up to you. But if you're talking about phase number one, you're talking about functional baseline. Nakuha nyo? But you are going to represent that in this particular stairs, and at the same time, the baseline component. Ito, ganito siya. Okay? So, if you're talking about preliminary design, so we are having preliminary design and detailed design. If we're talking about preliminary design, in which phase we are working with an actual software development life cycle, regardless waterfall or agile, iterative. Saan nangyayari yung designing? 'Di ba? After analysis, 'di ba? So, designing phase, the equivalent baseline in our uh, in our baseline progression is the preliminary and detailed design. Okay? So, preliminary design in our baseline progression includes the layout, no? Ang tawag natin doon the concept, no? In graphical representation form without the details. Meaning to say, nagke-create ka ngayon ng structure ng directory, like for example, root directory. Inside root directory, we're having this particular another directory, subdirectory that eventually become the parent directory of the like for example, 5 directories inside. And then outside this directory, there's another directory, pero without explanation. Parang in-outline mo lang yung directories. So that's the preliminary design. That is your preliminary design. So you are still working with the design, but the baseline is, the concept is the allocated baseline. So if you're doing the design without the details, meaning you are just trying to create an outline in representation without the details, you are working with the allocated baseline. But in development life cycle, that is still belongs to design phase. In-extract lang pagdating sa baseline progression. Did you follow, class? Can you raise your hand if you are still following? Okay, so you may now lower your hand. Next, the next one, the detailed design. Here comes, you need to include the description. So if you have your preliminary design and then below your preliminary design, you need to discuss, no? You need to include the description. What's this design stands for? What's the use of this design? Nandoon na yon. So meaning, you are now already working with the design baseline. Another phase is the building. Ito yung equivalent ng implementation natin ng source code. So dito sa baseline, we are having building and testing of your product. So yung implementation phase with the combination of the testing phase, in our baseline progression, we called it product baseline because you are trying to create the product and then you are also trying to test the product. So sa phase of development, magkakaibang phase yun, di ba? Implementation phase and then testing phase. In baseline progression, that is what we call product baseline. And then, here comes the deployment, the launching, no? Sa phase natin, launching yon, no? Sa baseline progression, deployment. So, that's already in our operational baseline. And then here comes the maintenance. So, when we say baseline progression, in configuration management baseline, it refers to a snapshot of the software artifacts at specific point of time. So the detailed, more detailed, but in summary, parang ano, no, parang awkward kasi parang nga siya snapshot nga, in short. Kinuha mo yung detailed within every phase, and then you also represent that in a labeled form or in a snapshot form, pero directly related to the task being conducted in that particular phase. Kaya ito, functional, allocated battle, then design baseline, product baseline, and so on. So parang nagmamatch lang din siya doon sa per phase life cycle. Okay? So you can actually include also that, no, in your documentation, no. Ito, spiral, risk management, and then yung baseline equivalent. Next slide is the maturity level. So, how can you determine whether or not you are already working with, whether you are already working with level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, or level 5? You can assess by simply reading the definition. If you are encountering this one, the process is unpredictable, then poorly controlled and reactive. So meaning the system doesn't have any plan on how are you going to handle the potential issues. The system doesn't even follow any business rules during the development. There's no clear and well-defined plan on how are you going and when to start, when to end the project. Pwede namang may development doon using agile and iterative. However, uh, you don't have any idea on how to start, and then basta ang ginagawa mo lang collect the requirements, design the requirements, implement what is being designed, and then run. So if that's the process that you are encountering, meaning you are still in level 1. So that's initial level, okay? Now, the second one, the process characterized for projects and is often reactive, meaning to say you are just simply creating particular functions based on uh, what you want to be included in your project, no? So na-manage mo lang to make the functionality. You manage to not to complete, but to create or to build the functionality. You manage to build the system. No more, no less. Basta na-manage mo siya. So that's beyond level 1. So at least you come up with level 2. Pero low level pa rin yon. You get the point? Level 3, ito na yung medyo nasa mid, no? Mid level of characteristics of maturity level. In level 3, you are now capable of defining what are those functions, modules, why those functions and modules needs to be included, and how those functions and modules perform its own task after integrating that into your system. So pag binasa mo yung definition, processes characterized for the organization and is proactive. So the project tailor their processes from organization's standard. So if we're talking about organization's standard, this is what we call business rules. Are you familiar with business rules? Are you familiar with business rules? So meaning, hindi. La, bakit ganon? Di ba may sad kayo? Business rules, no? You need to analyze what is being needed by the by the beneficiary. You cannot create the system without considering what is needed. So, yung beneficiary mo yung magdidictate, ito yung kailangan namin, ito yung header namin, ganito yung kulay ng header namin, ganito yung team ng organization namin, ganito yung layout, dito yung side pane. Lahat ng yon included in business rules, step by step. So, that's the business rules. So, if you are going to create the project, especially if you are having a beneficiary, you need to ask the business rules coming from your beneficiary. So if you are the developer, interview mo si beneficiary. Lucky na, no, lucky to you if the beneficiary already created the business rules. If not, that's the time that you need to gather the requirement. Tatanong nyo, ma'am, sir, ano po ba yung gusto nyong header ng ano nyo? Ano po ba yung logo nyo? Saan ba ilalagay yung logo nyo? Ano ba yung entire team? Ganito. Nakasulat yon. Ngayon, yung beneficiary niyo walang ganon, kayo mismo ang gagawa nun. Kaya swerte nyo kung yung beneficiary may ganon. Did you follow, class? Nasundan nyo kaya yung sinasabi ko? Oh. Oh, kahit nga online yan eh, di ba? May mga naglipa na ngayong online job. Di ba? Online job, mga freelance developer. Ang gagawin nila, kukunin nila yung business rules. What is needed to be included? Yung layout, yung font size, yung font style, yung graphics, no? Yung format pa ng graphics, yung outline, yung call to action, no? Saan nakalagay yung ganito, yung mga call to action na ito, drop down ba, toggle ba gagamitin, lahat na yon included in business rules. So, if you develop the system following that concept, we can say that you are already in level 3. You can now define why you need to include that particular functionalities because you are trying to base your development based on the organization's standards. Then business rules is the ones who are going to set the organization standards. Ang organization standards nandoon yon sa business rules. But usually, ano yon siya? Organizational architecture. Pero hindi naman kukunin yung organizational architecture kasi ang sa inyo lang naman yung i-develop. So usually, business rules talaga kukunin nyo. So what most likely the team, how many pages needs to be included, how are you going to design the call to action, and so on and so forth. Pag yung nagawa nyo, meaning you are now already in level 3. If not, nandito pa kayo sa level 2. If not, nandito kayo sa level 1. O try to determine and identify, saan ba kayo dito? Okay? Pag ito nalagpasan nyo na, yung level 3, no, you already tailored the development based on the organizational standard. So meaning, level 3 na kayo. So let's try to check now whether or not you also follow the process measured and controlled. Meaning to say, in every actions, in every integrations, there's a rationally quantitatively. Pag sinabing quantitatively, meaning to say there's a measures, no? In what percent of accuracy you come up with the decisions of including this particular feature that it is 100% accurate and being determined that this feature plays significant part of the system. So papakita mo ngayong measured, no? So kapag mga ganun na ang rationale mo, meaning nasa level 4 ka na of maturity level of characteristics. Meaning to say, lahat ng actions may measures ka. So why do you need to use this particular visualization? So 100%, if you're using this visualization, it shows the historical data from particular date of year and so on up to the particular date and year and so on. So 95% accurate data being generated by this visualization. So pag may mga ganong discussions na kayo, meaning the characteristics of maturity levels that you are using is already in level 4. But if you don't have any problem of defining and quantitatively managing the data, if you don't have any problem of dealing with this 1 up to 4, meaning you are now already in the highest level, which is level 5. Meaning to say, ang pinoproblema mo na lang, focusing more on the improvement, innovations, no, modifications, enhancement. Kapag more on ganun na ang ginagawa mo, you are no longer trying to trying to have the problem of how you fully understood the requirement because you fully understood already. There's no problem already on how are you going to measure the data in order to come up with the reliable the justifications of including the functions. So hindi mo na yung binoproblema. Meaning to say, you are now already in a higher level of characteristics of maturity levels, which is the level 5. Ang pinoproblema mo na, iniisip mo na how to optimize, how to innovate, no? Ganun na. Doon na yung sa level 5. Focus more on process improvement. Did you follow, class? Did you follow? Okay. And then we have the remaining slides. Then perhaps you can just simply read the remaining slides. And I recommend you to review dito. Itong mga nasa gilid, ito. Yung mga definitions, ito nasa gilid, yung mga nilakihan ko na font, that is included in your final examinations. Okay? So, I guess that ends our discussion. So you may now turn on your camera so we can have our picture taking. Okay, so pay attention. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so thank you for joining. Have a nice day. See you next meeting natin for the checking of your thesis 1, 2, 3 chapters, at the same time the collections of your recorded video. Thank you for joining. Have a nice day and God bless us all.